As winter loosens its grip and the days begin to stretch longer, a quiet transformation sweeps through the forests. Before the towering trees unfurl their leaves and the canopy thickens with shade, a brief but brilliant display of life bursts from the forest floor. These are spring ephemerals, plants that live in a fleeting window of opportunity. They emerge, bloom, and gather energy all in a matter of weeks, vanishing before summer even begins. The soil beneath our feet, rich with nutrients from last year's fallen leaves, fuels this brief explosion of color. But the same leaves that provide food for new life will soon become a barrier, blocking the sunlight that these delicate flowers depend on. There's no time to waste. Today we'll explore the incredible world of spring ephemerals and meet 6 of the forest's earliest and most fascinating blooms: red trillium, bloodroot, spring beauty, wood anemone, yellow trout lily, and Dutchman's breeches. Each of them carries a story of survival, of adaptation, and a deep-rooted connection to the people who walked these woods long before us. Let's begin. Our first encounter is with the striking red trillium, a flower so bold it almost seems out of place among the soft greens and browns of early spring. Red trillium, also called wake robin or sometimes stinking Benjamin, stands tall on a single stalk, topped with 3 deep crimson petals. Its name, wake robin, comes from the idea that its blooming signals the return of robins and the true arrival of spring. But there's more to this flower than beauty. Unlike many spring blooms that attract bees or butterflies, red trillium takes a different path. Its scent, faintly unpleasant to our noses, mimics the smell of decaying matter, attracting flies and beetles that act as its pollinators. In the cool, dim forests of early spring, flies are some of the most reliable visitors. By tapping into their instincts, red trillium ensures that even in a brief and unpredictable season, it can successfully reproduce. For centuries, people have admired trillium for their simple, elegant symmetry. Native American tribes used parts of trillium plants medicinally, although caution was always advised. And today, wild trilliums are often protected, reminding us of how fragile their ancient cycles really are. With its rich color, patient strategy, and quiet resilience, the red trillium is a fitting herald for the season to come. Next, we'll find one of the most striking and fleeting signs of spring, the bloodroot. Bloodroot rises from the forest floor wrapped tightly in a single-lobed leaf, like a hand sheltering a secret. Unfurling with the first warmth of spring, its delicate white flower shines against the brown leaf litter like a shard of sunlight. The plant's name comes from the bright red sap hidden within its rhizomes, a vivid, almost startling contrast to its soft outward appearance. Native American peoples used the sap as a natural dye, particularly for war paint and ceremonial markings, and sometimes in traditional medicine, though the plant is toxic and must be handled with care. Bloodroot's survival strategy is one of urgency and protection. It blooms very early, racing to take advantage of full sunlight before the trees above unfurl their leaves and darken the forest floor. The flowers open wide in the sun, but close tightly at night or during cold, cloudy days, protecting their fragile petals. For reproduction, bloodroot relies on ants to disperse its seeds. Each seed bears a fleshy, nutritious packet called an eliosum, tempting ants to carry the seeds underground, planting them safely away from the parent plant. Its flowering is brief, sometimes lasting only a few days, but in that short window, bloodroot captures a fleeting moment of the forest renewal, a reminder of how beauty, fragility, and survival are all entwined. Scattered across the forest floor in drifts of pink and white, spring beauty is a soft-spoken herald of the season. Its slender stems rise just a few inches from the ground, each one bearing starry blooms brushed with delicate pink veining, almost as if an artist traced each petal by hand. No 2 flowers are exactly alike, making a patch of spring beauty feel like a living watercolor. Spring beauty's strategy is one of speed and flexibility. It grows from an underground corm, a small energy-storing structure similar to a bulb that allows it to quickly sprout and bloom at the first sign of warming soil. The corm sustains the plant through its brief above-ground life before it retreats back underground as the canopy closes in. These corms were a prized food source for many indigenous peoples and early settlers, often called fairy spuds for their small size and sweet chestnut-like flavor. Pollination is a delicate dance for these ephemeral flowers. Spring beauties are visited by a variety of early bees, including some species of specialist bee that rely almost entirely on them for pollen. Without these early pollinators, the cycle would falter. Though its season is brief, spring beauty transforms the quiet forest into a soft, blushing carpet, a gentle celebration of winter's end and the earth's reawakening. Next, we have a flower that seems to defy convention, Dutchman's Breeches. Named for the shape of its delicate blooms, this flower looks like a row of tiny pantaloons hanging from slender stems as if suspended by invisible laundry lines. The blooms, pure white with a hint of yellow, almost seem like they've been plucked straight from a fairy tale. Dutchman's Breeches are a flower with a distinctive strategy. Like many spring ephemerals, they bloom early to make the most of the sun before the tree's leaves fully emerge. The flower's unique shape is perfect for attracting early season pollinators, particularly bees, who can crawl into the pants of the flower to access its nectar and pollen. Interestingly, the flower's shape and the movement required to extract nectar encourages cross-pollination between plants, a strategy that enhances genetic diversity and helps ensure a healthy future for the species. The plant also relies on underground energy reserves in the form of fleshy rhizomes, which are similar to bulbs. These reserves help the plant endure the months when it's not visible, quietly waiting for the next opportunity to bloom. Dutchman's breeches were historically used in folk medicine to treat a variety of ailments, from toothaches to muscle pain. However, the plant is toxic if consumed in large quantities, and it's best to admire it from a distance. With its delicate blooms and playful shape, Dutchman's breeches seem to embody the magic of spring's early days. A momentary burst of beauty, always waiting for the right moment to appear. One of the quiet beauties of early spring, the yellow trout lily, is a flower that often hides its splendor in plain sight. Its leaves, mottled like the spots on a trout, appear first, gracefully arching across the forest floor, before the bright yellow blooms follow, lifting themselves towards the sunlight. These flowers are a slow-blooming survivor, emerging early in the season when the soil is warm enough but before the tree canopy fully closes in. The yellow petals of the trout lily curl back into a subtle spiral, revealing their inner structure, which is specifically adapted to attract early pollinators such as bees and flies. Yellow trout lily uses an interesting reproductive strategy. They rely on genetic cloning to form larger patches over time. While the plant's flowers may cross-pollinate, the majority of new plants arise from bulb offsets, a method that allows the species to establish and spread slowly across the forest floor. The plant's underground bulbs are vital for survival, storing energy that sustains it through the months when it's not visible. But this slow growth means that large patches of trout lily can take years to establish. In terms of folklore, yellow trout lily was sometimes considered a harbinger of spring, a sign that the worst of winter had passed and the earth was waking once more. Its presence in the forest is a quiet confirmation that the delicate balance of life is shifting, quietly preparing for the season ahead. When you venture into a woodland in early spring, you might just spot the wood anemone. Its delicate white petals nodding in the breeze, like quiet messengers of the season's return. The wood anemone's flowers are simple yet breathtaking, a circle of white petals surrounding a central cluster of golden stamens. Though often confused with other early bloomers, its soft beauty is unmistakable, and despite its fragile appearance, this plant's strategy is built around resilience and spread. Wood anemones bloom early in the season, taking full advantage of the bright sunlight that filters through the bare trees before they leaf out. Unlike many spring ephemerals that rely on a single bloom, wood anemones spread through both seeds and rhizomes, underground stems that allow the plant to form large colonies over time. These colonies spread slowly across the forest floor, sending up new flowers each spring to brighten the landscape. Interestingly, the wood anemone relies on early season pollinators like bees and flies, but it's also adapted to be self-pollinating, ensuring its chances of reproduction even in the absence of visitors. Its flowers remain open for several days, giving pollinators plenty of time to visit, and after pollination, the plant produces small seeds that can be carried away by the wind or animals. In folklore, wood anemone is sometimes called windflower, a name that hints at its fleeting nature, as the blooms are often blown about by early spring winds. Some believe that the plant's flowers can foretell the weather, with open blooms signaling fair conditions and closed flowers suggesting rain. Despite its short bloom time, the wood anemone's quiet, persistent presence is a reminder that spring's beauty isn't always loud and showy. Sometimes it's found in the softest of petals, fluttering in the breeze. As we've seen, each of the spring ephemerals we've explored today has its own unique strategy for survival and reproduction, but there's a common thread that ties them all together. They each rely on very specific environmental conditions to thrive. The key to the success of these plants lies in the undisturbed forest floor. Spring ephemerals are generally adapted to grow in woodlands with rich, well-drained soil, often in areas where the forest has been undisturbed for many years. This means they're often found in the mature woodlands of places that haven't been heavily disturbed by human development or intensive logging. The soil here is fertile, enriched by the decaying leaves and organic matter that accumulate over time. But the forest floor offers more than just fertile soil. Spring ephemerals have evolved to take advantage of the fleeting sunlight that pours through the canopy before the trees leaf out. This is a time-sensitive strategy. The ephemerals must bloom, pollinate, and set seeds all within the span of just a few weeks, before the trees unfurl their leaves and shade the forest floor. This brief window is their opportunity to store energy and produce seeds that will carry the next generation into the coming seasons. Interestingly, moisture also plays an important role. Many spring ephemerals prefer environments that are moderately moist, not too dry and not too wet. For this reason, they're commonly found in mesic environments, those with average moisture conditions, like floodplain forests or the edges of woodland streams. However, this reliance on specific conditions also means that spring ephemerals are sensitive to changes in their environment. Habitat destruction, soil compaction, and invasive species can all interfere with their delicate balance. In some areas, the arrival of invasive plants like Japanese knotweed or garlic mustard can crowd out the native ephemerals, making it harder for them to establish and thrive. These plants have adapted to grow in specific microhabitats, where they can find the right combination of moisture, sunlight, and soil quality. If you ever find yourself walking through a woodland with a patchwork of vibrant blooms, take a moment to notice the characteristics of the ground, the richness of the soil, the proximity to a stream or a gentle slope, and of course, the amount of sunlight filtering through the trees. These are the ideal conditions for spring ephemerals to flourish, creating the brief but breathtaking display of nature that marks the start of each spring. While the fleeting beauty of spring ephemerals may feel like a magical gift, these plants face challenges in the modern world. As we've seen, spring ephemerals thrive in mature woodlands, areas that have remained relatively undisturbed by human activity for long periods. But increasingly, these habitats are being threatened. Urban development, deforestation, and land conversion for agriculture have led to the loss of many important forested areas. As their habitats shrink or degrade, spring ephemerals find it harder to find the conditions they need to grow and reproduce. Invasive species are another serious threat. Non-native plants like garlic mustard and Japanese knotweed can crowd out spring ephemerals, reducing the biodiversity of woodland ecosystems. These invasive species often outcompete native plants for sunlight, water, and nutrients, leading to significant declines in native wildflowers. Even subtle changes in climate patterns can have far-reaching effects on these delicate plants. Warmer springs can disrupt their growth cycles, causing them to bloom too early or too late, which can hinder their ability to attract pollinators or produce viable seeds. But there's good news. There are steps that we can take to help protect these important plants and the ecosystems they support. Conservation efforts are underway to protect and restore natural habitats. Local organizations and communities are working to preserve mature woodlands, restore native plant communities, and control invasive species. By supporting these initiatives, we can ensure that future generations will be able to enjoy the beauty and wonder of these early spring blooms. On an individual level, we can help by becoming more aware of the habitats that spring ephemerals depend on. Supporting local parks, green spaces, and nature reserves is one way to keep these areas intact. If you're a gardener, you can also help by planting native species in your yard, creating small havens for native wildlife and avoiding the spread of invasive plants. In the end, spring ephemerals are a reminder of the delicate balance of life. Their brief presence in the woods speaks to the fragile beauty of nature, and how, if we're careful, we can protect the ecosystems that sustain them for years to come. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. But either way, get out there and see what you can see.